Hello, friends from the comic world. My name is Hector,
And my name is G.
and we're here to talk to you about our picks. No, sorry. This is talking about all the titles that are coming out for collected editions of graphic novels in October of 2023. G and I work for Penguin Random House. We manage sales into the direct comic market. So the titles that we talk about in these videos are from publishers that we represent. Also note that there might be some delays in production, so some of the timings might change for a few titles. So you might see some titles on this video that we talked about or we showed you on the previous one, or also there could be a couple of titles from this list that might be pushed back at some point. So always keep an eye on the new release list. Um, Also, you can find us on social media if you want to know more about the titles that we represent. We are in Twitter, X, we are in Instagram, Facebook, and also YouTube under at PRH International Comics. And to let you know a little bit about how this works, we go through, like I said, the full list of, we'll show you the full list of new releases that for collected editions of graphic novels in October 2023. But we'll go first through a couple of our personal picks. Then we'll show you a few titles that we want to highlight from the full list, and then we'll leave you with slides with the rest of the list. So make sure to stay till the end of the video so you can catch all the titles that are coming out in October. And without further ado, let's get to the first title.
And the first title is my pick. This is Breathers. This is created and illustrated by Justin Madsen. And this one, I was looking up interviews with Justin Madsen, and what was pretty interesting about this is this was pretty like very creator owned in the sense where they had printed this out like Xerox copies and like folded it personally and stapled it, and that's how they handed this out and let this story go out into the world. And this was like years ago. So it's pretty heartwarming to see that we have that turned into like a printed collection and trade paperback coming out of Dark Horse. So really love that for the creator. And really cool that like everything was handled by this one person, and it's like really good to see and read that type of story. And this one follows a cast of survivors in a dystopian world where basically the air carries a fatal virus, and you follow these casts of characters, one of which is a detective who is battling his own inner demons. We also have a mother and daughter who are like fighting so hard to stick together during this very like trying time during the apocalypse that had happened. And then we also have like a salesman who's peddling like the breathing masks to make money and profit off of them. And like all of these stories that are happening that you're following through, like in the wake of all of that, there's this growing movement that is like propping up. And there is a question of whether the virus is even real, if it's actually in the air. And it's all about trying to figure out whether or not what the truth is versus what isn't, as you're going through and reading the stories. So, highly recommend picking this up. This will collect the full 9 issue series that is in this, but there's also a bonus issue in this collection that you'll read here and collect it for the first time together in this trade paperback collection. So it also has like a cover gallery as like an extra like piece of like additional material in this, which will include like there was like a issue number one variant cover that was done by Jeff Lemire and Matt Kent, which is pretty big names as well. So definitely check that out. It's like a good extra to have in this collection. So
Great. And next up is my first pick, which is Into the Cut Grass. This is by Trevor Noah and is illustrated by Christopher Myers. Um, this is graphic novel more towards also picture book. And you know, I think most people should know who Trevor Noah is, but if you don't know, he is a South African comedian who was the host of The Daily Show for many, many years here in the US. And he is a big, big star, not just in the US, but around the world. Um, and he also wrote a best-selling, a New York Times best-selling book, uh, his memoir titled Born a Crime. Um, so, and then he decided to do this sort of a children's graphic novel. It's more of a, um, I say children's, but it's not really children's. It's like it's for everybody. It's an inspirational graphic novel. Is what we should call this. I'm just going to read real quick the one paragraph we have to describe this, and it says, "In the tradition of the boy in the mole, the fox, and the horse comes a gorgeously illustrated fable about a young child's journey into the world beyond the shadow of home, a magical landscape where he discovers the secrets of solidarity, connection, and finding peace." With the people we love, infused with the author's signature wit and imagination in collaboration with visionary artist Christopher Myers. It's a tale for readers of all ages to be read aloud or read alone. Pretty much what I was saying that last sentence. So Trevor Noah, I did want to talk a little bit more because if you don't know Trevor Noah, you should. He's such a funny guy, but he also has such an amazing story. You can catch his story on part of it in Born of Crime, which I highly recommend you read. It's not just, like I said, very interesting because he has a very interesting story, but also very funny. He is hilarious, and it comes across on his writing. He's a very good writer and author. And he, just so you know, some highlights of what he is. He was born a crime because he was born in South Africa during apartheid, and his mom is African, a black woman, and his dad is, I forget which country, Swiss, I think maybe, but some kind of European, very white person. And in apartheid, it was illegal to have such a relationship, and some of the things that he describes in his memoir Born a Crime, he describes about him having to walk on one side of the road and his dad with his mom and his dad on the other side, but if the police stopped, his mom had to, like, say, I don't know who that kid is, because they didn't have the same skin color, and it was, they could potentially take him away. And it was a lot of things like that. So, but he does it in a funny way. And this, he's, I think, when you have inspirational books, sometimes you're like, oh, what has this person done in life, or what have they gone through to really inspire me? And Trevor Noah, I'm telling you, has had a life that he deserves. He is the right person to give advice on how to look ahead and be inspired and not give up. So this is a book that I'm really looking forward to. I think is something that, for his name, but also because of the topic, a lot of people are gonna look forward to this book. So there you go.
All right, next up is Coral's Reef. This is volume one. This is by David Lupston and illustrated by Shai. I don't
Sure.
know the pronunciation. Sure, yes.
Yes.
You might have heard me talk about this if you do follow our other videos because I was really excited when this was announced by Seven Seas when they initially announced their license for this. What was really exciting is because this is not only like a full colored graphic novel coming out of Seven Seas, but it is really geared toward all ages, which is sometimes hard to find with comics at times. Like you're wondering, like, I want to look for a book for kids, but also for young adults, but also like that adults can enjoy. And this is like a perfect one to do. And this one is about this teenager who's just a regular teenager except for the fact that they're a sea sprite, so not human, not exactly human. And The sea sprite name is Coral, hence the title, Coral's Reef. And Cora's life is just pretty normal, like any other teenager loves to like ride the surfboard, like helps mom out in the dress shop kind of thing, like loves hanging out with friends, like teenager kind of things. But life will be turned upside down by what? By a guy, a boy that she crushes on. And of course, his name has to be Nick Inferno, the last name Infernal, because he's literally blazing hot and coming
Yeah.
in with all the fire and probably maybe chaos that's going to come through. You're going to have to read to find out. But I thought this is like a pretty cool one to get started, that you could pick up. And yeah, my pick for this month.
Yes. Yeah. Uh, I gotta say, I realized that my picks are sort of kids, also adult oriented, but they're all that kids could pick up, and you have a couple of titles in there too that are kind of kids oriented, but that's fine. I'm just saying that we didn't plan it that way. We're just picking our favorites. This is Si Se Puede, the Latino heroes who changed the United States. Written by Julianta and illustrated by Jasmine Flores Montañez. Um, this is, I know this sounds very US centric, but it's a very cool book. First of all, it has these two superstars in the creative team. Julianta, who's a Cuban American writer who has done a lot of work, in the middle grade and kids areas, but he's very well known, at least in the US. And then Jasmine Flores Montañez, who sort of an up and coming illustrator, Puerto Rican, like born, raised, and lives in Puerto Rico still. And she has been doing a lot of recent. She was part of the DC Milestone Initiative, which brings in minority creators, and Julian Tattoo, actually, they were both part of that uh, group last year, where DC brings them in and just gives them projects to sort of get them started into the DC comics. And um, Jasmine Flores. I know more about Jasmine because I really follow her and a big fan of her art, also because she's Puerto Rican. But and she has done recently interior arts and covers for books like Action Comics, Flash, and Icon versus Hardware. And she was also illustrated. She's illustrated a story in, I think, written by Julianta in the Marvel Voices Comunidades last year. So, anyways, enough about how much I love Jasmine Flores Montañez. Uh, this book is about the history of Hispanics in the U.S., but it also talks about Latin America, and it talks about where Hispanics are coming from a little bit. It talks about the natives. It talks about how the movements throughout the years into the U.S., the migration movements. But it also talks about the different names, big names, and the way it presents it is about this group of Hispanic Americans. It's sort of a story where you follow this group of Hispanic Americans that are in a museum that is an interactive museum, and it's very high tech, and they start learning about all the Latinx and Hispanic uh, figures and the history of Hispanics in the US. And it goes from everything to, I mean, you can see a lot of names that maybe you haven't heard of, but there's also, like, you see on the cover in the middle of there, you see Roberto Clemente, who would be recognized not just in Puerto Rico, but also throughout Latin America and Central America. There's also Celia Cruz with that amazing Cuban flag dress there on the left. And but there's also some that I didn't really know, like Ellen Ochoa, who's the first Latina to leave Earth's atmosphere. So it's a very beautiful book. The illustrations are great. I should have also included some illustrations in here, interiors, because they're out there. You can find them on Edelweiss and some other places. But it's also very educational. And like I said, it could be for kids and it could be for adults. So. There you go.
Okay, and then next up is If You'll Have Me, and this is by Unni. And if you didn't know, Unni is Korean word for older sister. If you're like female presenting, or if you claim that like gender pronoun, you would call your older sister Unni. So speaking of which, Korean American, I think residing in DC, but I might be wrong about that. I'm pretty sure. But this one is a story about a really cute meet cute with these two characters. We have Momo Gardner, who is like this introverted, sensitive, a little too trusting kind of a person, likes to believe in the best of people. And then we have PG, who is like quite the opposite, who's like a lone wolf and is a flirt and a player, has this cold mystery about her, quick to smile, but like she falls for someone. When she does fall for someone, she falls very hard. And it's about this unexpected meeting between these two, the courtship that happens between these two, which is like kind of awkward, but also very endearing. But then there's like these cracks in the relationship that tends to happen because like different personalities come into play. We have Momo, who has very overprotective friends who are not sure about PG, and then PG's past coming back to haunt her. So it's just these two people where their love is tested, and you follow along and read through that journey as you're going through this. And I this is one of those books where, like it says, if you're like into like Heartstopper, for instance, this is something that you would probably like as well. And I'm all about this. So my pick for this month.
Excellent. And my next pick is The Unlikely Story of Felix and Macabre, um, written and lettered by Otsmane Elham. Wait, let me get the full name. Hassan Otsmane Elham, and it is illustrated by Juniper, the amazing Juniper. So these are two very cool creators that are well known for mostly for their art, although Juniper has been doing a lot of writing lately. Hassan Osmani Ilhan actually is more of a letterer, but has done also some art, and in this case, he's the writer. And Juniper, like I said, he's very well known for his art, and you can recognize on this cover that it's Juniper's art for sure. Juniper, if you don't know, is from Senegal, France, and Hassan Ousmane is British Algerian, French Algerian. So these two international and very well-known creators came together to do this story. And like I said, it was going to be another kid's story, but also for adults. So in this case, you have Felix, who's the tiny figure that you see in the middle of that cover. It's a tiny monster in a world of monsters, and the biggest thing in this world is the monster wrestling. And it's like this world in this society of monsters. The most important thing is to be, the strongest and the scariest. And of course, poor Felix is not. So Felix tends to be bullied and trying to find his place in the world. And in doing that, at some point, fate puts him in front of Macabre Tales, who's the character on the left, who is one of the most famous monstering champions in history. And this unlikely pair get together and go on a journey together, and that sends them to Macabre's hometown, and they get to meet all these amazing characters throughout the journey, and their like the mountains with a colossal flame wielding Canelver, a monster able to make an army of knights out of just its own saliva. And also they go to the lair of the dastardly Amaret, the monster that made Macabre the champion that they are today. So together, these two, they face a lot of battles, and both in the physical and in the mental arenas. And it's about finding your place in the world. It's about finding your strength outside and within, and unlikely friendships. And it's very cool. I think it's again another one that it's you kind of see that it's geared towards maybe kids, but not really. This is for adults too. I mean, this is something I really want to read and want to take a look at. So there you go. And I think that is our last pick, right? Now we're
Yep.
gonna go into some highlights. We're gonna highlight some of the titles coming out in
Yeah.
October.
And
You
first
go
up is
first.
yeah, first up is 30 Days of Night. This is the deluxe edition, book one by Steve Niles. Yeah, thumbs up there.
I know
We
I'm
have
a big fan of Steve Niles. Yeah,
big fan. I already knew that. Uh, Absolute Transmetropolitan. This is volume two. This is the 2023 edition by Warren Ellis. Very much beloved story by many. So you can pick up that Absolute edition. We have Batman Wayne Family Adventures. We have the volume two of this for you to pick up. This is the DC original on Webtoon. That is very fun. So you should definitely pick it up if you haven't picked up volume one yet.
yeah.
Uh, and then we have Big Ethel Energy. This is volume three. This is also a Webtoon turned into a physical format. Um, I'm not forgetting that I forgot to include the names. So, Batman Wayne Family Adventures by CRC Payne, and then we have Big Ethel Energy by Carol Brown Ahmed. Again, was a webcomic turned into a physical format here, and then we have Scott Snyder's Clear, which you'll see here in volume one.
Which was also a digital original now,
Mhm.
physical format. Collected physical format now.
I love that we're doing that. Like,
Yeah,
there's such a want of the physical form
yeah,
that yeah, we're making that possible now.
yes. We all love expensive paper.
Yes.
Um, Then we continue with Critical Role, the Mighty Nine Origins Library Edition, Volume 1, written by Sam Max, Jody Hauser, Cecil, actually the whole cast of Critical Role. I know we can't put all their names on there, but it was written by all of them. And this is one of those amazing library editions that Dark Horse does. They're very beautiful. So highly recommend picking that up. Then we have DC Horror presents Sergeant Rock versus the Army of the Dead by Bruce Campbell. Yes, that Bruce Campbell. And then The Dead Boy Detectives Omnibus, the Sandman Universe Classic by Neil Gaiman. So this is collecting the older stories from Dabo Detectives and the Sandman Universe classics, and then in time for the new ones that just came out that are being now collected too. Dead Seas by Kevin Scott. This is one of IDW originals. And the Demon Wars Treasure Edition by Pichu Momoko. This
Mhm.
is, I mean, we're
A
both
definite.
fans. We're both
Yeah.
fans of Peach Momoko, so this is a definite for all you fans of Peach Momoko and fans of Marvel who want to see, uh, uh, sort of a Japanese mythology adaptation of the characters, the Marvel characters.
All right, next up we have Diana and the Hero's Journey by Grace Ellis. I'm pausing here because I saw the DC panel. I think it was for young readers at San Diego Comic-Con. They talked about this title. Really cool. The interiors are amazing. So definitely check out the art here. And the illustrator, Penelope Gaylord, is like
Mm.
such a personality that you need to like you need to look them up and like hear them talk about their work on this. So, and then we have Doomsday Camp, this story eater. This is Joshua Hawk. We have Extreme Venomverse by Ryan North. And then we have this like The Glass Scientist Volume 1 by S.H. Could could
I can't help
I know
you. I don't
I
know
don't even want
either.
to try because I know it's gonna come out wrong. But this one is cool because it's like if you are like into the gothic horror world, it just takes Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde and like Frankenstein, the like the two like prominent classic stories, but put in a graphic novel geared towards like young adult readers.
Yeah.
So this is pretty cool. The art is amazing on this one too. And then we have the Godzilla Library Collection. This is volume one by a whole host of creators that you'll see here on the slide. So,
Yeah. Excellent.
okay.
Next up, we continue with Hellcat, Devil on My Shoulder by Christopher Cantwell. This is collecting that, that miniseries that came out recently. And then we got Who the F Cares by Huda Padme. I believe this is the trade paperback edition. It had already come out in hardcover. And then we have I Zombie, the complete series omnibus 2023 edition by Chris Robertson. This is also very, very cool and was turned into a live action show that was also very cool. And then we have Jeff Lowe and Tim Sale, Daredevil Gallery edition, obviously by Jeff Lowe. And Lost Time by Tas Munkarik. Munkarik? Sorry. We need to practice these last names
Yeah, and we
beforehand.
just
So
need
we're
to
so sorry about this.
we're like apologies all around because it's like really
Yes,
bad.
I know.
Okay. And English is my first language too, so like it's not even
Yeah,
helping me.
at least I have an excuse, but still no excuse.
Okay, and then continuing on, we have Laura Olympus. This is the three-book box set by Rachel Smith. And then we also have the Laura Olympus Volume 5 that's coming out. So, Laura Olympus fans, it's
Yeah.
your month. And then we have The Nice House on the Lake. This is the deluxe edition by James Tiny and the Fourth. And then we have Pause. Priya Puts Herself First by Nathan Fairbairn. And then Pluto Rocket, Joe Pidge Flips a Lid. This is the Rocket series number 2. This is by Paul Gilligan.
Yes. And continuing, we have Signals, Volume 1, written and illustrated by Nika. And I believe that's what this was, Webtoon, right? Or digital. I think so.
Papas, yeah.
Papas, that's what it was. Thank you. And then Sonic the Hedgehog, Season of Chaos by you have all the creators down there. And then we have Star Trek Year 5 Deluxe Edition, Book 1. Also, we have several creators on that book. And Stories of the Islands by, oh gosh. Uh, I don't have my glasses. Sorry. I should wear my glasses. Clara and Kaze, can you help me with that one?
And
No,
Casa, I really
I
don't.
don't know.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
We gotta practice.
Yes. And I need to wear my glasses when we're doing these videos. And then Super Sun Omnibus Super Duper Edition by Peter J. Tomasi.
I'd like to point out that I have the first edition of this
Yeah.
omnibus. I can't say the word, so I'm a
Uh-huh.
huge fan.
Yes.
And yeah, this is really cool. You need to pick up this if you haven't picked up the Omni
Yep.
yet. All right, and then next up,
That cover is by the amazing and very gorgeous Javier
very
Jimenez. Javier Jimenez. I just had to mention that for some reason.
Jorge
Jorge
Jimenez, yeah,
Jimenez. Sorry, Jorge Jimenez. I had to mention that for some reason.
who looks like Superman himself.
Yes, he does look like Superman. Yes.
Speaking of which, we have
Speaking of
Superman for
which,
All Seasons by Jeff Loeb. We have this really cool story. This is Turtle Bread, a graphic novel about baking, fitting. It's essentially what that is. It's like it takes mental
yeah,
health into cooking, and it's by this British Bake Off like person, Kim
winner.
Joy,
She was a winner of one of the
winner.
seasons of
Yeah, one of
the
the seasons.
Great British
Great
Bake Off.
British Bake Off, yeah. And
Yeah.
then I really love White Savior, which is like
Hmm.
it's basically an isekai story that like breaks the fourth wall with the main character who's like very funny and sassy and witty, which is really fun. This is written by Scott Berman and by Eric Nguyen. And we have Satana and the Ripper. This is volume 1 by Sarah Dealey as
It's
well. So
also a webtoon
webtoon.
from
Hmm.
DC. And that's it. that's the highlights. Like I promised at the beginning of the video, we're gonna share now with you the rest of the list. So stick around. You'll get to listen to some very cool music while we, like I said, show you some titles. Check us out on social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube under at PRAH International Comics. And we hope you enjoyed this video. Take care. Bye.
Hi, everyone.